Welcome to Shor Machshava on the Daf. We're starting a new Masechta, Maseches Chulin b'siyata d'shmaya. As a Agdama, as a start to the Masechta, what is Maseches Chulin all about? And more specifically, why is Maseches Chulin here in Seder Kochim? So the Maseches Yisharim, in the last parak of the Sefer, writes, what is the definition of a Kaddish? As a preview to what the Maseches Yisharim is talking about, I'll bring what I mentioned in the past in the name of my Rebbe, Ramosh Shapir Zatzal, that the Sefer Maseches Yisharim goes in the pathway of the name Yitzchok. What does that mean? The Sefer is Maseches Yisharim, the pathway of the Yashar, someone who goes straight. What is the pathway the Yashar should take? He should be a tzaddik, which does the right thing. Then he becomes a chassid, who does more than the right thing. And eventually becomes a kaddish. That is Yashar Tzaddik Chassid Kaddish Rosh Tevus Yitzchok Amud HaAvodah. So in the final parak of the Maseches Yisharim, parak Chavov, he goes in length to explain what does it mean to be a Kaddish. What is the Adam Kaddish do? Says the Maseches Yisharim that a person who is Kaddish, so everything that he does, even his Maaseh Gashmi, becomes Kedusha Mamish. V'simonach Achilas Kochim. The same way Achilas Kochim is a mitzvah in Kedusha, any person who becomes a Kaddish, everything he does Chulin is Kaddish too. He goes on to say that's the difference between a Tor and a Kaddish. Tor, he tries to remove all the Gashmi, all the physical things that don't connect to Ruchnius, and to focus on spirituality. But a Kaddish is someone who takes all the Chomri and all the physical things and everything that has to do with his body and makes that Kaddish as well. I mean, mainly he says the Maseches Yisharim, he becomes like a Beis Hamikdash, that the Shechina's Shoira Olav, everything he does is part of Kedusha. Continues and says, that's the idea, like Gemara Ksuva says, Kol Mevi Doiro Natamei Chacham. Anyone who gives a gift to Tamei Chacham, Kilu Hikri Bikurim. And the Gemara Yuma says, Yimala Groiner Shvi Chachamim Yaim, which is Keneged Nesachim. And the Maseches Yisharim adds that one cannot reach there on his own. He can prepare himself to get to that Maila, but at the end of the day, it has to be Soifa Matana from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes milamala and connects to such a Adam. Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen also mentions this idea in many places in his farm. We'll mention two of them in Machshavas Choretz Ois Tes. He goes on to say that we know in the name of the Arizal that Achilas Shabbos v'Yom Tov v'Kadoime Misudas Mitzvah, there's no moistus. Everything is part of Kedusha, and it's like eating Kodshe Migdash. And then Reb Tzadok says something which connects right away to the first daf over here in the Masechta. We're going to see in Amud Beis that there's something called Oichel Chulin B'Taras HaKodesh, which means a person who uses his Chulin, but he treats it with the same level of Tahara that you have for Kodesh. So in a deeper meaning, it means that he's eating his Chulin, but the Chulin becomes Kodesh as well. The B'gama Rishus Shaloi Nase Mitzvah V'Shulchanoi Doime LeMizbeach V'Shtias Groina Kedisach Yain. He's mamish like a carbon and there's no moisture klal. Gamat Rishus Shaloi, even his Rishus is Taras HaKodesh. And Tzadok goes on in Ois Yud over there to go and say that when a person is moist himself completely to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so even his weekdays become Kodesh, and that's the idea of these days of Sfiras Oimer. So Yisrael means you take the days of the week and you make kaddish them, you elevate them through the Sfira. Elevating the Chulin, Mikadesh the Choil, that is the ultimate goal. That's the highest level of the Avodah, as the Maseches Yisharim tells us. So I saw in the Sefer Das Sefer, which was written by Rav Akiva Sefer, the great-grandson of the Chasam Sefer, who was the last Rav in Preshburg. So he goes and says, Chulin, if they're done al Taras HaKodesh, that a person goes and is careful with his Chulin. His Shchitas Chulin, he does it right, with the right Shchita. He makes everything with Kpeda to do it the right way. So then his Chulin also become Kodesh. That's called Chulin al Taras HaKodesh in a deeper meaning. Every Chulin that he has is the level of Kedusha. So he says that's the Pshat. The Maseches Chulin is in Seder Kochim. Because Chulin also can come to the level of Kochim. If you're treating the Chulin in the way that that's part of Avodas Hashem, that becomes Kochim as well. And this is a tremendous understanding and as a Hagdom and a preview to the Masechta. The Masechta is Maseches Chulin. What we do with chayil, with something which is the regular food, not the food that goes in the Beis Hamikdash, not the food that is coming to a kohen. It's the food that a person has. Every Yisrael can have it. But it's part of Seder Kochim, because when you're doing it correctly, and this the Masechta is going to teach us how to eat the chulin correctly, how to prepare it correctly, how to make sure that there's no ta'aruvos, how to make sure that everything is pure and done al pi derech haTorah, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us. When a person is careful with his chulin that way, so he's mekadesh the chayil. He's doing his chulin at Taras HaKodesh. That becomes part of the Seder Kochim. That's part of the Avodah. That's the ultimate Avodah. The ultimate Avodah is that the Kedusha is not only in the chelik of spirituality and Kedusha Beis Hamikdash, but the Kedusha comes down and penetrates to Ulamas Tachtonim, to our regular physical day-to-day life. This is Maseches Chulin of Seder Kochim. Anyone who wants to join or sponsor the Shor Machshava Shiurim, please email shormachshava@gmail.com.